Hi viewers, so we meet again, and in this lecture we'll be discussing about text, which is an important component of multimedia. Text and the ability to read it are doorways to power and knowledge. Reading and writing are expected and necessary skills within most modern cultures. Since the explosion of internet and the World Wide Web, text has become more important than ever. Academic papers, magazines, complex instruction manuals, and even the contents of entire books are now available for reading with a web browser. The social impact of this text biased medium on the way people access and use information will be profound as the web matures further. In contrast to today's television medium, the web offers an active experience laden with enough choices to challenge even bright people who can read. More than television, with its 50 or 100 or even 400 channels, the web offers an explorer's paradise of billions of HTML documents, as has been the case throughout history, information that can have potent meaning. So, during this or maybe in the following lectures, our motive will be to recognize the importance of word choice, describe the difference between a typeface and a font, and list at least 3 attributes of a font. For example, upper oblique lowercase, serif, sans serif, postscript oblique true type oblique open type. Discuss the importance of text and the ways in which text can be leveraged in multimedia presentations. The power of meaning. Even a single word may be cloaked in many meanings. So, as you begin working with text, it is important to cultivate accuracy and consciousness in the specific words you choose. Multimedia authors weave words, symbols, sounds, and images and then blend text into the mix to create integrated tools and interfaces for acquiring, displaying, and disseminating messages and data. The words Barbie, green, and light may each easily trigger a rush of different meanings. A piercing cry in the night, the sight of fire engines, fingernails on the chalkboard. All these raw sensory messages are important only because of what they mean to you. All of these examples demonstrate the following multimedia principle. It's important to design labels for title screens, menus, and buttons using words that have the most precise and powerful meanings to express what you need to say. Experiment with the words you plan to use by letting others try them. Words and symbols in any form, spoken or written, are the most common system of communication. They deliver the most widely understood meaning to the greatest number of people accurately in detail. Because of this, they are vital elements of multimedia menus, navigation systems, keywords, and content. As this lecture is in English, you might consider yourself lucky. A study by the British Council estimated that 1 billion people spoke English by the beginning of the second millennium as first, second, or foreign language. English is the official or joint official language of more than 75 countries. More than 2/3 of the world's scientists read English, and 3/4 of the world's mail is written in English. It is estimated that 80% of the world's information that is stored on computers is written in English. People around the world find English relatively easy. Therefore, we also will be talking about English typefaces and fonts. A typeface is a family of graphic characters that usually includes many type sizes and styles. A font is a collection of characters of single size and style belonging to a particular typeface family. Typical font styles are boldface and italic. Your computer software may add other style attributes such as underlining and outlining of characters. Type sizes are usually expressed in points. One point is 0.0138 inch or about 1 by 72 of an inch. The font size is the distance from the top of the capital letters to the bottom of the descenders in letters such as G and Y. Helvetica, Times and Courier are typefaces. Times 12-point italic is a font. In the computer world, the term font is commonly used when typeface or face would be more correct. A font size does not exactly describe the height or width of its characters. This is because the x height of two fonts may vary, while the height of the capital letters of those fonts may be the same. Computer fonts automatically add space below the descenders to provide appropriate line spacing or leading. Leading can be adjusted in most programs on both the Macintosh and the PC. With a font editing program like Fontographer from FontLab Limited, adjustments can also be made along the horizontal axis of text. In this program, the character matrix of each character and the kerning of character pairs can be altered. Character matrix are the general measurements applied to individual characters. Kerning is the spacing between character pairs. When working with PostScript, TrueType and master fonts, the matrix of a font can be altered to create interesting effects. For example, you can adjust the body width of each character from regular to condensed to expanded as displayed in this example. When it converts the letter A from a mathematical representation to a recognizable symbol displayed on the screen or in the printed output, the computer must know how to represent the letter using tiny square pixels. It does this according to the hardware available and your specification from a choice of available typefaces and fonts. High resolution monitors and printers can make more attractive looking and varied characters because there are more fine little squares or dots per inch. And today's broad selection of software fonts make it easier to find the right typeface and font for your needs. In centuries when type was set by hand, the type of a single font was always stored in two trays or cases. The upper tray held capital letters and the lower tray held small letters. Today, a capital letter is called uppercase and a small letter is called lowercase. In some situations, such as for passwords, a computer is case sensitive, meaning that the text's upper and lowercase letters must match exactly to be recognized. But nowadays, in most situations requiring keyboard input, all computers recognize both the upper and lowercase forms of character to be the same. In that matter, the computer is said to be case insensitive. Company and product names such as WordPerfect, OmniPage, Photodisk, FileMaker and WebStar have become popular. Placing an uppercase letter in the middle of the word called an intercap is a trend that emerged from the computer programming community, where coders discovered they could better recognize the words they used for variables and commands when the words were lowercase but intercapped. Typefaces can be described in many ways, just as a home advertised by a realtor, a wine described by a food critic, or a political candidate's platform can all be described in many ways. Type has been characterized as feminine, masculine, delicate, formal, witty, comic, happy, technical, you name it. But one approach for categorizing typefaces is universally understood, and it has less to do with the reader's response to the type than it does with the type's mechanical and historical properties. This approach uses the terms serif and sans serif. Serif versus sans serif is the simplest way to categorize a typeface. The type either has a serif or it doesn't. The serif is a little decoration at the end of the letter stroke. Times, New Century, Schoolbook, Bookman, and Palatino are example of serif fonts. Helvetica, Verdana, Arial, and Optima are sans serif. On the printed page, serif fonts are traditionally used for body text because the serifs are said to help guide the reader's eye along the line of text. Sans serif fonts, on the other hand, are used for headlines and bold statements, but the computer monitor's resolution is not the same as the print world, and it can be argued that sans serif fonts are far more legible and attractive on computer screen. Using text in multimedia. Imagine designing a project that used no text at all. Its content could not be at all complex, and you would need to use many pictures and symbols to train your audience how to navigate through the project. Certainly, voice and sound could guide the audience, but users would quickly tire of this because greater effort is required to pay attention to spoken words than to browse the text with the eye. Computer screens provide a very small workspace for developing complex ideas. At some time or another, you will need to deliver high impact or concise text messages on the computer screen in as condensed a form as possible. From a design perspective, your choice of font size and the number of headlines you place on a particular screen must be related both to the complexity of your message and to its venue. Too little text on a screen requires annoying page turns and unnecessary mouse clicks and waits. Too much text can make the screen seem overcrowded and unpleasant. On the other hand, if you are creating presentation slides for public speaking support, the text will be keyed to a live presentation where the text emphasizes the main message. In this case, use bulleted points in large fonts and few words with lots of white space. Let the audience focus on the speaker at the podium rather than spend its time reading fine points and subpoints projected on the screen. Choosing the font. Picking the fonts to use in your multimedia presentation may be somewhat difficult from a design standpoint. Here again, you must be a poet, an advertising psychologist, and also a graphic designer. Try to understand the potential reaction of the users to what is on the screen. Here are few design suggestions that may help. For small type, use the most legible font available. Decorative fonts that cannot be read are useless as shown. Use as few different faces as possible in the same work, but vary the weight and size of your typeface using italic and bold styles where they can look good. Using too many fonts on the same page is called ransom note typography. In text blocks, adjust the leading for the most pleasing line spacing. Lines too tightly packed are difficult to read. Vary the size of a font in proportion to the importance of the message you are delivering. A large size headlines adjust the spacing between letters so that the spacing feels right. To make your type stand out or be more legible, explore the effects of different colors and of placing the text on various backgrounds. Try reverse type for a stark white on the black message. Use anti-aliased text where you want a gentle and blended look for titles and headlines. This can give a more professional appearance. Anti-aliasing blends the colors along the edge of the letters called dithering to create a soft transition between the letter and its background. If you are using center type in a text block, keep the number of lines and their width to minimum. For attention grabbing results with the single word or short phrases, try graphically altering and distorting your text and delivering the result as an image. Wrap your word onto a sphere, bend it into a wave, or splash it with rainbow colors. Experiment with drop shadows, place a copy of the word on top of the original and offset the original up and over a few pixels. Then color the original gray. The word may become more legible and provide much greater impact. With websites, shadowed text and graphics on a plain white background add depth to the page. Surround headlines with plenty of white spaces. Pick the fonts that seem right to you for getting your messages across and double check your choice against the opinion. Learn to accept criticism. Bold or emphasize text to highlight ideas or concepts, but do not make text look like a link or a button when it is not. On a web page, put vital text elements and menus in the top 320 pixels. Studies of surfer habits have discovered that only 10 to 15% of surfers ever scroll the page. Before you can use a font, it must be recognized by the computer's operating system. Before you can use a font, it must be recognized by the computer's operating system. If you want to use fonts other than those installed with your basic operating system, you will need to install them. When you install applications, fonts are often added to your collection. Animating text. There are plenty of ways to retain a viewer's attention when displaying text. For example, you can animate bulleted text and have it fly onto the screen. You can grow a headline a character at a time. For public speakers, simply highlighting the important text works well as a pointing device. When there are several points to be made, you can stack keywords and flash them past the viewers in a time automated sequence. You might fly in some keywords, dissolve others, rotate or spin others, and so forth until you have a dynamic bulleted list of words that is interesting to watch. But be careful, don't overdo the special effects or they'll become boring. For a simple presentation, PowerPoint has bells and whistles to reveal a line of text, one word or one letter at a time, or to animate an entire line. So folks, as the time is running out for this lecture, we sum up what we have discussed in this lecture and continue with other text intricacies in next lecture. In this lecture, we discussed text and the ability to read it are doorways to power and knowledge, the power of meaning and the power of English language, English typefaces and fonts, text in multimedia and choosing a particular typeface, and what effects does animation of text produces in multimedia. So that's it. See you in the next lecture. Thanks.